welcome to Man in the Kitchen, Cajun style.
Somebody say yeah.
I like it. Woo! All right. There we go. Well, you just heard him. That was the Fatback Blues Man, Yusef as we know him. Let's give him a hand. Good job. That sounded good. This is the Blues Show, the Cajun Show, as we say. And we've got a real special guest. You heard Yusef over there. We've also got Carl Heidtke. Carl, thanks for coming today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, Carl, you are a blues man. You're the man when it comes to blues.
I'm a blues DJ and go as Left Coast Carl in the blues world. And
Left Coast Carl.
I write for a blues magazine in town. Hey, we'll plug it right now.
Go for it.
That would be Southland Blues Magazine.
We've seen that. We've seen that around.
This magazine's really to list all the blues events going on in Southern California. It goes from Santa Barbara to San Diego. A lot going on in the Los Angeles area. It has over 500 listings a month.
So everything you want to find.
And so if you want to see blues, this is the thing to pick up to find out who's playing where. And then it also has articles and CD reviews and things like that. And I quite frequently write the feature article on it.
Oh, great. Well, that's interesting. So you're really quite developed into the blues world, as they would say.
It's my hobby. It's my hobby.
Now, you were kind enough to invite me to your Drive Time Blues show.
Right.
For the radio show that you do.
Radio station KSPC out of Claremont, 88.7 on your FM dial.
Nothing like another plug.
Right.
But I had a great time that night.
Yeah.
That was your I think your final farewell for the Friday night blues show.
Yeah, we were on Friday nights from 4 to 6. And had a wonderful time doing that for about 2 years and bringing people home from work on Friday afternoon with the blues.
Yeah, and you had a great following.
Yeah.
And you still do.
Oh, yeah. Now we're on Saturday mornings, starting at 11 o'clock in the morning, go to 1 o'clock, right around the lunch hour.
Lunch hour. Yeah. So same blues, different time.
Yep. Yeah.
But that night it was great because you had all those blues bands in the studio, in the radio station there.
Yeah.
And you pulled that off great. Oh. And you were kind enough to invite me, and I sat there and I thought, there's got to be a way we can tie this into the TV show.
All right.
And we finally made it happen here.
Yeah, well.
And this is exciting.
Invited the Fatback Blues Man down here to join us today. He's, I think, one of the finest new talents out there. He's been playing around Los Angeles for a little more than a year, I think. Yeah, and played at Lucille's down next to B.B. King's for a long time until it closed down here recently. And he's going to be playing the Big Time Blues Festival this coming Sunday. Of course, we don't know when folks are watching this.
That'll be the
27th of July is what it would have been or be.
Okay. Well, just in case we get this on.
A great talent, so we're glad to have him come down here. Thanks for coming down.
Thank you.
That is great. And we're going to be hearing more from the Fatback Blues Man as the show goes on.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
So what do we got here, Carl?
Well,
you make
we're
these
here
beans
to
and rice
make
that I love so much.
a very traditional Southern dish today, red beans and rice. And this is kind of a combination of what we call Cajun cooking or Creole cooking. It comes from the Bayou area in Louisiana. Cajun cooking is probably an offshoot of Creole being the original French style of cooking.
Okay.
And Paul Prudhomme, who is a famous chef in Louisiana, he says now it's getting so mixed between Cajun and Creole and all the other styles that they're just starting to call it Louisiana food.
Just Louisiana food. Keep it simple, generalize.
Yeah.
Sure, it makes sense.
But it's pretty much a mix of French and Spanish and African cooking. In fact, the Cajun culture is kind of interesting how that came about way back in the 1600s, 300 years ago. French people started to settle up in what is the northeastern part of our country in Canada now, Nova Scotia, all the way down to Maine.
Northeast, okay.
And pretty much settled it all through the 1600s. And then in 1713, Great Britain, the French gave that land to Great Britain in a treaty agreement. And so the English came over, and they wanted all these French settlers to pledge their allegiance to Great Britain. And the French settlers who had been there 100 years now basically said, no way. Well, you know, we're not going to, you know, French and English, they haven't been friends, or, you know, real good friends for a long time.
And they're sure not going to do it right now.
So the British at that time took everybody that wouldn't pledge their allegiance and loaded them on boats, even though they'd been living there 100 years, and sent them off, and they took them down to the swamplands of Louisiana and said, here you go, you can have this land here.
And hence, the Creole.
Well, yeah, and well, they, you know, I mean, they went from, you know, northern Canada down to live in the swamps, so they had quite an adjustment down there.
I imagine they would.
And they became good friends with the Indians first, and there were a lot of Spaniards in the area, and so the cultures down there began to mix them between the Spanish and the French.
So there was this,
and then in the 1800s, you know, slavery was pretty prominent now in the southern part of the United States. Well, escaping slaves found out that if they could make it down to this swampland in Louisiana, the laws were not the U.S. laws there, and they could live for free and wouldn't get today what we call extradited out. And so a lot of slaves escaped down into that area and started to mix the African culture from that. And originally they had called their land up in Nova Scotia Acadia. And they called them Acadians when they moved into Louisiana, and that got shortened to Cajun.
Ah, so that's where Cajun comes
Yeah,
from.
yeah.
See, we learned so much on Man in the Kitchen.
So
Aren't you glad you turned in today? Aren't
so
you
we
glad
had
you
a
tuned
blending of the French culture and the African culture and the Spanish culture, and it blended into the music, and it blended into their lifestyles, and it blended into their food.
Into the food,
and
too.
So a lot of the spices and things that come from this are a blend of those cultures. The cooking really is predominantly kept by the spices that are in it.
Okay.
Today we're going to make a vegetarian red beans and rice.
And when I first tried this, I did not know, I had no idea it was vegetarian.
Yeah.
You would not know it when you taste this.
In fact, there's a couple books out on vegetarian cooking for Louisiana cooking, and substitute all kinds of things for the meat. And,
okay.
And although I eat some seafood, and that's a big part of that cooking, so any dish I can make with the seafood, I keep the seafood in there.
All right. Well, that sounds good. And those books, can you find these books at any bookstore, do you think, that you're talking about?
Yeah, in fact, we could give them a list of them.
You know what we'll do is at the end of the show, call the number, and we'll make sure we have that information for folks to call the number. So, because I know that once they see you make this, they're going to want it, and they're going to want more.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think we should have, you know, we talked about the culture a little bit. I think we should have Yusef here give us a tune.
That sounds great. Let's hear it. Yeah, now that we've heard about the culture.
Something I thought about, we're here in the kitchen. I'm going to do a Robert Johnson song, Come On In My Kitchen.
A Robert Johnson song, Come On In My Kitchen. All right. Excited. Fat Back Blues Man.
You better come on in my kitchen. Going to be raining outdoors. Woman I love took my best friend. Then some joker got lucky, stole her back from him. You better come on in my kitchen. Going to be raining outdoors. Going to be raining outdoors.
Yes, indeed.
Hey, that sounded great.
All right.
I like that. You know, we're covering all the senses here today. We're really covering all the senses.
yeah.
We get the food, we get the music here, and we get the history. I'm excited.
All right. Now, Yusef, you're playing around town quite a bit, aren't you?
Wherever they'll have me.
Yeah, and they bill you as the Fat Back Blues Man.
simply,
And it
yes.
plays out here in the Inland Empire now and then. I know you've been over at La Vida Roadhouse.
Yeah,
we might mention a couple places to see some blues around town.
In fact, we just did La Vida last week. We'll probably be doing that in the future, La Vida
Right.
Roadhouse.
The La Vida Roadhouse right there in Carbon Canyon.
We get
Yeah.
down to Orange County. We do the Renaissance Laguna Beach, Renaissance Dana Point. We do those places.
Blue Cafe down in Long Beach, you know, around.
Excellent.
People could probably get a hold of me if they're interested.
And sometimes you go and do a gig just playing you and the guitar, and sometimes you got a little band.
Yeah, it depends. Certain venues, like for instance, we do La Vida's, we do the band. I have a trio which consists of a drummer, harmonica player, and myself. So we just kind of do a little small thing. I call them the Juke Joint Crew, you know, back in the woods. And then a lot of times I do the solo thing. So that works for me.
Well, if you want to find out where the Fatback Blues Man is going to be playing, we're going to put the Fatback Blues Man hotline at the end of the show today, so folks can find out where he's playing. So, excellent.
Yusef is one of the few young people around that's really doing the traditional style blues today. So if you want to see something good and you see him playing around, go check him out.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
That sounds
all right.
good.
Well, listen. Let's talk about getting into this a little bit here. Now, the main ingredient, of course, is beans, and processed beans today. The beans you buy in the store are fairly well processed, and you don't have to go picking through them a whole lot, cleaning them out. They're pretty well done.
These are less expensive, but it's a lot more work, isn't it?
Well, it's not a whole lot of work. You know, we want to bring that out. That these are the red beans. You want to get red beans for this, or dark red kidney beans. This is just a package here. If you're going to make this recipe using the raw beans, these style of beans, you definitely want to soak the beans. I mean, there's a lot of people say soak or don't soak, but you want to
definitely want to soak it.
Well, it does two things. It softens up the bean, brings it back to its original state, and it helps reduce what they call flatulence. That's the
flatulence. Yes, we're aware of that.
Gas-causing ingredient.
We want to avoid flatulence whenever we can. Did we get a close up of these flatulent reducing beans here? That's what they look like in the grocery store. You've seen them. So yeah, definitely soaking would probably be the plan.
To use these beans and soak them, you want to put the beans in a big pot. Maybe even bigger than this pot.
Bigger than this
for
one?
The soaking.
Okay.
And you want to add, for a pound of beans, you want to add at least 5, maybe 6 cups of water.
Okay.
They're going to soak for a good 12 hours. And during that time, you're going to change the water 2 or 3 times.
2 or 3. Can you do this right on the counter?
Very important.
Or do you need to keep it in the refrigerator or anything like that?
Well, if you're going to go longer than 12 hours, if you're going to soak them overnight, I would put them in the refrigerator.
Okay.
So maybe put them in for a couple hours, change the water a couple times, and then set them in the refrigerator.
And then set them in the refrigerator.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, there's a quick method to soaking beans.
A quick soak method. Let's hear about the quick soak method, Carl.
This is where you put them in a good 5 cups of water and bring them to a boil. Let them boil maybe 2 to 3 minutes at the most. Take them away from the heat. Let them cool back down and sit in that water for an hour.
Oh, okay.
Then change that water, rinse them real good 2 or 3 times, and they'll be just about as good as soaking them for the 12 hours.
Okay, good. So that's the fast. If you just can't wait.
Yeah.
That's the fast start method.
But the longer you soak them, the better they're really going to be, this type of bean. And never add salt or vinegar or anything to the beans while they're soaking, because the minute you add another ingredient to the water, it stops the process.
Oh, so leave straight water then.
Yeah, put that in later when you're doing the cooking. But this is Man in the Kitchen.
And
we're not going to soak beans.
Not going to soak beans, so what are we going to do?
We're using some dark red S&W kidney beans here
S&W
today.
kidney beans, okay.
Right out of the can.
We can put a little, Matt, we can get a little close-up of that. That's the any brand, of course, public access. But we'll, so these are already soaked and ready to roll if you want to get this. And that's a 27-ounce can so for today you want 2 of these.
You want 2 of those
for that recipe
today's recipe.
Okay, great.
Now this recipe starts off though, we're going to make a roux. And to do that, we're gonna use some olive oil today. Olive oil is probably the best oil you can use for flavor.
Olive oil, okay.
Now, but any oil will work. Any of your standard, whatever you prefer. You know, the low cholesterol, low fat, nothing in this oil.
We're always concerned
So I
with
think
that.
we should let this oil heat up for a few minutes. Let's put a little bit in here. We're gonna put about 2 to 3 tablespoons, and we already have a little in there. So we'll let that heat up during our break. Do a little bit more here, and we'll and let's let that heat up for a minute and
listen to a little bit more of the Fatback Blues Man.
And then we'll come back and get into what we're going to do with this oil.
That sounds good. I'm excited about that roux. While we're waiting that to heat up, let's take a little break here. And Yusef, let's take us to the break, my friend.
All this food talk reminds me of green onions.
Oh, yeah.
four-letter word, right? Hey, you don't need that. Why design the world's newest jets? When you could be flipping the world's oldest burgers. Hey, wait a minute. This is math. Geometry, algebra. No pocket protectors here. But you're cruising without math. Yeah, right. Take a good look. That's math staring back at you. It's not a problem, man. It's an answer. Call NACME. We'll tell you what you need to do.
Music to prepare
Hey now.
rhubarb.
All right.
Music to prepare rhubarb.
right.
Love it. So, Carl, now you're telling
right.
me you got a roux that you're going to make. And
Well,
for those
a
of us that
roux-
don't know what a roux is, what the heck is a roux?
Roux, spelled R-O-U-X, is a beginning of a lot of Southern dishes, and it's simply oil and flour mixed together into a paste, and it gives a dish a little bit more body, a little bit more color, and a little bit more flavor. We're going to make kind of a roux here with this today. In fact, let's get going. We've got our oil heating up here.
Okay.
And we're going to start out by putting in some onion. Now, if you want to, you can use your traditional onion and chop it very fine for this dish, but this is man in the kitchen. So we're going to use...
They responded to the pep assembly at the break, Carl.
minced onion here. It comes in the jar here, and we're just going to pour in a good little, probably about
Half
a
cup?
third a cup, half a cup, whatever
Okay.
that is, and that's in there doing real good, and we're going to stir that around a little bit.
Looking
Get
pretty
this
good. We
going.
can
Yeah,
kind of lift
let's-
this up a little bit and
okay.
show the audience just a little bit. And kind of, yeah, I guess I got an
Now
idea
we're
there.
going to get this so that the minced onion gets just kind of soft, not really browned. We're not going to try to burn this at all.
Okay.
And right away, we're going to go ahead and put some garlic in. Again, if you want to use traditional clove garlic, you'll want to use about 3 cloves chopped up for this dish. But we're going to use a powdered or a granulated garlic, and we'll probably use a good, I don't know.
About that much.
Well, that might not be enough.
Looks like about
All
a
right.
tablespoon
Now
or so.
okay. We got it. No, I'd say we got maybe 2
bit more,
tablespoons,
2
and we might go a
tablespoons.
little bit more on this.
Which is about the same as 3 garlic cloves.
Right now
okay.
for this roux. Now we're going to come in with a couple tablespoons of water.
Can you all smell that out there? Ooh. Oh, man, that smells great.
And the roux is starting already.
So the roux is actually an intense
And I certainly
paste.
didn't think that was enough garlic for this dish.
You're like the Cajun cook, a true
Yeah.
Cajun cook here that's putting
Garlic and onion is one of the main ingredients for the flavor in this, so you want to get plenty of that in there. And you don't want
man,
this
we
to burn, so you want to keep adding a little bit of water to just get this like a paste.
in. Okay, so you don't want that garlic and that onion turning brown on you.
No.
And the water will help
not,
that.
Not in this particular dish.
Okay.
Okay.
The water looks like it helps
And, oh yeah, the water. Now see, we're making the roux here with the water more like the chef would use a butter on a different kind of, on a traditional roux with flour, but we're not going to put any flour in here.
that. Okay, so we're just water, garlic, and onion here.
Yep.
And then a little
Now
olive
we're going
oil.
to add about 2 tablespoons of oregano.
Okay.
All right.
2 tablespoons of, a lot of oregano in the Cajun cooking.
Yeah.
That's our Spanish influence there.
Yep. Another one of the spices they use a lot. Now this is just coming back to a little bit of a bubble here again. We're stirring it so that it doesn't burn.
Let's see if we can get, Matt, can we get that? A little bit of a, how's that looking? Everybody at home, you folks at home can kind of see that consistency there?
Yep.
One of these days we'll get a hang on
That's
camera
the
or
consistency
something here.
you want. And we're going to add again about 2 tablespoons of thyme.
Of thyme.
T-H-Y-M-E.
T-H-Y-M-E. Well, not to be confused with parsley, sage, or rosemary, but thyme. But that's a whole different type of music, so we don't want to talk about that on the blues show. So a little bit of thyme. I know thyme is a big one in barbecue sauce, too. I know people throw a little bit of barbecue, or thyme in barbecue sauce. It's smelling great.
When it comes to traditional spices, that's about it for this dish to really give it its flavor.
So
But
that's the
I
base
throw
flavor.
in, at this point, a little bit of Creole seasoning. Now, this has become available, pretty popular in all your markets today. This one happens to be Tony's Catcheries Creole Cooking.
Okay.
Here's another one that's Cajun Choice Creole Seasoning.
You can find these pretty much in the spice section of any grocery store, then, you think. Okay.
Yeah, they're becoming very popular. And maybe about a teaspoon and a half of that at this point.
Looks like it.
That will add a little bit of heat to the dish,
Which we
you
always
don't want to
want.
get too much of that.
Not for every taste. Not for every taste.
We're stirring again a little bit here. We got that bubbling pretty good. We want to let that bubble for maybe 2-3 minutes. It's already been going probably a good 2 minutes, so we'll give it a minute or two more.
Okay, just
And
let
at
that
this
bubble.
point, we can bring in, we can add it now, or you can add this just a little bit later, a bay leaf.
Just
And,
one.
Well, I'm gonna, and I don't know how I got this habit, but I always break my bay leaves just a little bit when I put them in there. And seeing as that's a small one, I'm gonna stick
Sure.
another small one with it.
So you've got about 2 or 3 small bay leaves broken.
When I was a little kid, my grandma, I'd find bay leaves in the stew, and she told me she was cooking it out in the backyard, and I believed her.
Now, so was this
She
the
made this
grandmother that made this
apron.
apron?
Yeah, yeah,
Can
we
we
were
get a
talking
close up of
about
this
that
apron
earlier,
here?
yeah.
Matt, if we can get a close up, this is an apron that Carl's grandmother made him. And so Carl, because you're only
pretty
about
good.
30 years old now, so what, a couple years, 20 years ago or so.
Yeah, pretty good little stuff.
That is awesome. While we're at it, what does this button say on your hat?
I think it says, everything I love is immoral, illegal, or Cajun.
You gotta love it. You gotta love it on Man in the Kitchen. You gotta love it. Yeah, no, those of you at home couldn't read that. It was worth
All
reading.
right. Now at this point, we got this going pretty good. This is
And it
about
smells
right
good.
here. And you might even want to add just a little taste more. Well, that was probably another 1/4 cup of water here because we're going to throw in the tomato paste. You want to get
Tomato
just your
paste.
regular tomato paste, and you've got that.
We've got some here
Dish that right
conveniently.
in there, conveniently opened for us on Man in the Kitchen.
And God knows if it wasn't, I would cut myself on that can as I have been known to do. Okay, I don't have it all in there, but I got most of it in there.
And you want to stir this in and mix this real good. Now we're going to have a very thick paste.
So that's real thick now.
But as soon as we get this stirred in, Jeff, you want to grab the beans? And we're
I
going to
sure
add
will.
the beans. These are the beans
show
we
the-
opened up from our can.
Okay.
We put them in a colander and drained them and washed them.
And
So we
drained
don't
and
have-
washed.
So you have nice clean beans there.
So nice, clean, drained, and washed.
All right.
Dark red kidney beans.
And now we're
colorful.
going to, now we need, and we probably can do this. Now the important part of this cooking right here is to get the right water level. You want to bring the water up just so it just covers the beans.
Just covers the beans.
That
Okay.
are in the dish
So
here.
it's kind of hard to
Stir
get a
that
shot
up.
of that, but believe us,
Well,
folks, it's just covering
we'll
the
get a shot
beans.
of it when we get it stirred up here, okay?
There we go.
And maybe just a taste more for that.
So the water's just covering the beans,
Mm-hmm.
and we're set. And yeah, let's get how does that look? Can we get a little shot of that there?
Yep.
And
Get a shot of that.
there we go. There we go. Kind of gives them an idea there.
Now the key to Louisiana cooking, the hot sauce.
The hot sauce. I
This
understand
is a Red
the,
Rooster Louisiana hot sauce. There's many of them out on the market. You can even use Tabasco sauce
Tabasco.
for this. And at this point,
Yeah. There we
There
go.
we go.
How long is it going to take us to get that whole bottle out of there? Do you think?
it's going to be a while. Now, I'm going to put in probably about a tablespoon to 2 tablespoons. You want to do it to taste. You
Definitely
want to do
on
it
that.
to taste.
Yeah.
Oh.
Red Rooster's not quite as hot, I think, as the Tabasco,
Okay.
but it'll.
Well,
Yeah,
at
I
this
can see
point-
why you want to do that to
At
taste.
this point in the dish, it's only going to add a little bit of the flavor. It's not going to be real hot for a while.
Okay.
For our dish, we're going to throw in some Morningstar Farm breakfast links. This is what I put in to kind of substitute for the sausage and the ham hock that they would put in, although I'm telling you the spices in this are what make the dish.
Okay.
And we're going to cut these up into little bite-sized pieces. We've got them kind of cut up here.
Now this is where when I first tried this dish, I thought this was a meat dish
Right.
because I thought I was
This is
eating
a
traditional
soy product
sausage.
that's put out in pretty commercial in the market. You find it in your frozen food section. And we're just going to add those in there.
Add that right in. Okay, and this is great vegetarian again.
Yeah.
And you can surprise your vegetarian friends and cook them something very hearty.
Now you bring this to a boil.
Okay.
Maybe a little more water in this.
A little more water and bring it to a boil. We'll turn off the fire down here.
And the minute it starts boiling, you got a nice good bubble on it. You want to turn it down and let it simmer for 2 hours minimum.
Okay.
I cook them, 4 hours. I cook them all day long. And to do that, you want to come back about every 30 to 35 minutes and make sure your water is still at the right level. Give it a good stir and, put a 1/4 cup or so of water in there. Don't let it burn.
Okay.
And this has got to cook now for
You want-
4 hours.
3, 4. You want that water to just be covering
Yep.
everything, right?
You can
Okay.
you can cover it up and let it cook that way. I usually cover it for about the first hour or two, and then I'll.
Oh, and then you throw the.
Then I throw the
frisbee.
cover away. Throw the cover away.
Okay. Well, hey, we got a couple minutes here now. We serve this with rice, you say?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we want to, we only have about 2 minutes. I don't know if we'll have time to cover cooking it, but what rice would you recommend?
Oh, okay.
Carl?
Well, you know, you can use about any kind of rice. For man in the kitchen, you can even use your Uncle Ben's minute rice.
Very simple.
Lately, I've been enjoying this Texamali rice. There's one brand of it here. There's 2 or 3 that are now also available in the store. This gives you a rice that's very fluffy and airy. That happens to be the way I like it. Folks want to serve it over a more sticky rice if they like. That's
Then
that's
they can
fine
do that.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
Now, I
yeah.
understand you brought some of this. It's already done. Can we maybe dish out a little bit of the rice onto a plate and then see what this looks like when it's done? I think it's right over here. If we can get someone in a hot with a... that's
Lost
gotta-
the rice somewhere.
Yeah, where'd our rice go? That's a good question. We've
It
got
was-
some pre-cooked rice that is somewhere around here in a little... well, oh, you know what? It might be over there with that. Is that too hot to handle? Yeah. It is a little hot. Hey, tell you what, why don't you dish a little of that on this plate, and we'll just see. Again, folks, hey, we love it. Public
We need the
access.
rice.
You gotta love public access.
We
right?
lost the rice. Oh, there it is.
Oh, it's over there. Okay.
The rice is right there.
Yeah, put a little bit of that.
You put a little rice on the
it's-
bottom.
Here, why don't we go ahead and use, there we go. Here's that. What we're doing, everything's off camera here. We're gonna get a little rice and a little bit of this Cajun,
Our crack crew.
our crack crew here.
There you go.
And,
Steve can give
don't
us
you
a
love
little
television?
music here.
Yeah, let's have a little, why don't we go ahead and get Fatback Blues Man on a little bit of music as we're getting the rice and beans ready. Don't you love television?
Oh, yeah.
Carl's a radio man, so he doesn't have to worry about this, some of these things that happen. Hey, well, while we're getting that all ready, Carl, I'd like to thank you again for coming out.
Well, thank you, Jeff.
Yeah,
It's been real fun.
Yeah, this has been. We're gonna do it again. Will you come back?
I'll come back
And we can maybe get Yusef
we'll bring
to come
some
back.
other people, and if Yusef can come on. There it is.
Hey, there it is.
Wonderful red beans and rice.
Get a shot
Might want to serve this with a little bit of chopped up onion on the top of that. In fact, we got some here.
Oh, so you put a little onion on top
Oh,
of
yeah.
there?
Yeah, you
That
put a little
looks
onion.
good.
Be sure and have your hot sauce available so people can add a little extra if they like. Even a little bit of oil and a spicy vinegar. Some people like to put that on it.
Ah, excellent, excellent. We love it. Hey, folks, that's it for Another Man in the Kitchen. We're going to show the Fatback Blues Man hotline at the end. And again, I'd like to thank Carl Heidtke,
Thank you. Thanks,
KSBC.
folks.
Listen to him on Saturdays.
Yeah, KSBC 88.7. Saturday afternoon.
See you later.
For recipe information, call 628-9775.
Thanks, Justin.
Thank you.